Hello and welcome to another live episode of Let's Talk Rangers. I'm your host, Kyle McLean, and as always, I'm joined by fellow co-host Ross Chalmers. Firstly, Ross, before we get into it and dissect the disaster that was last night, how are you? Have you calmed down about it all?
Just about. I'm actually really glad that we decided to do this a day later instead of like an immediate reaction, because I think both you and I were messaging each other after the game last night about how angry we were the way that turned out, and I'm sending voice notes at 10, 11 o'clock to as many people as possible ranting about the game. So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to vent those frustrations last night. I was able to get some of it off my chest in the office today with a few people as well. So yeah, I'm certainly feeling better than I did last night. I think I'm still, yeah, like I said before, really, really frustrated about what ended up turning out to be. But yeah, look, we'll try and be level-headed about this, reasonable about it. But yeah, I'm sure some of the kind of ranty nature might seep through into this evening. But yeah, looking forward to it. It's good to be here. How's things with yourself?
Yeah, fine. Like as you said, I'm out of all the voice notes I've ever had of you, I think last night's was a particular highlight. But I couldn't even say that much after that game because I was so raging after it. I was absolutely fuming after it. But listen, we'll get straight into it. We've got to talk about it. It's the same with Rangers. It's thick and thin, but Rangers dropped 2 points away at Fir Park last night, and just what feels like a massive, massive opportunity lost to put down a marker when it really matters. It's a game where, let's face it, Ross, Rangers were absolutely played off the park by Motherwell for large parts, if not the majority of that game. And trust me, as somebody who works in and around Motherwell, that has been brutal today, listening to Motherwell fans. But before the match, there was the people reacted similar to the Kelly lineup in terms of being massively underwhelmed by it. The game itself, Rangers got off to a brilliant start, continuing that early habit of getting a nice early goal. But after that, I think everybody was expecting Rangers to just go push on, keep exploiting that space at the back of Motherwell, but it just didn't happen. The only other talking points in that first half was the Raskin clearance off the line, which was unbelievable. And I don't even really want to talk about it, but that Chermiti miss that I know we put out on the Let's Talk Rangers socials, and it got so much interaction with that. In the second half, there was just no reaction from Rangers, no changes that people were expecting. The rest of the game, I would say, continued much in the same vein as the first half. Motherwell dominate possession, seemed to have more desire than Rangers at time. The big key moment in the match for me is when VAR had to get involved to send Fadinger off. Motherwell down to 10 men. And people have been very, very critical of Rohl. A lot of Rangers supporters have been critical of his reaction to this. But it's just that same old story. We could all feel it coming. I would say Motherwell's overall play deserved a point last night, but in the context of that game, Ross, we're playing 10 men. You've got 10 minutes to go. It was an absolute gut punch and a disaster last night.
It definitely was. I think I wasn't surprised that equaliser went in based on the state of play and what we'd watched that whole evening. But I think the manner of you concede that goal was really disappointing. Like, we do just switch off at the end. And I think there's a lot of things that contribute to that we'll maybe get into later on the podcast. But yeah, incredibly frustrating. I think a really, really poor performance that comes off the back of a really poor performance at Easter Road last week as well. So that's 2 games away from home against top side opposition that Rangers just haven't really showed up in. Now, let's give credit where it's due. I think Motherwell are a fantastic side and they deserve a lot of credit. And we are not the only team this season to go there and really struggle. We've seen Celtic go there a month ago or so, and they were absolutely outplayed and played off the park at the same way we were. So they deserve a lot of credit for the way they've been this season. But I do think last night, I wouldn't say it was worrying, but I just think it was a terrible night for Danny Röhl. I think he got a lot wrong last night, whether it comes to the selection, whether it comes to the substitutions, or then just the general shape, formation, that kind of mentality towards the end of the game. I just think he got it all wrong. I think to be 1-0 up against 10 men with 10 minutes to go and not see that out, that is a gut puncher, like you said. That will hurt the squad psychologically. There's no doubt about it, because I think they've really banked on that kind of defensive record and solidity, and it slipped last night. And I think that was the most disappointing aspect for me. Is it's not the result itself, because I'll be honest here, and you and I spoke about this before the game yesterday. I thought it would be a draw. Like, I honestly didn't see Rangers going there and getting 3 points, and that's not being defeatist. That's just me being honest and realistic. I just thought the way Motherwell have been playing lately, the way we had been playing away from home, I didn't expect Rangers to go and get 3 points. That doesn't mean I don't want them. That doesn't mean I'm not desperate for them, but I just thought, maybe taking the blue tinted glasses off, I thought this might be a draw the way it played out. I think it's not necessarily the result that's frustrated me the most. It's the performance and a lot of the decisions from the manager. And look, like I said before, we were outplayed, and Motherwell probably did deserve something from the game. But I think we could have done a little bit more, especially from the manager, to see that game out, or maybe try and turn the tide a little bit, because I think the statistics last night, Kyle, were I think Motherwell had 63% of the ball. I mean, I know they're a good footballing side, but look, this is Motherwell and we're Rangers, 37% possession. And by the way, when we had possession, we didn't do a lot with it. We're really poor when the ball turned over. We're really losing possession. So yeah, overall, really frustrated. Of course, I maybe would have said different to you last night when I was really frustrated, but I don't believe this is the title race over. Far from it. I think there is going to be twists and turns. I can really understand why the support are really deflated with that last night, because I was as well. But look, I think we have a good opportunity to the weekend to turn things around. But yeah, I think just the manner of the drop in those points last night is the most frustrating aspect for me, and that's the bit I'm probably looking forward to getting into, because I think there's lots of different angles you could talk about last night and kind of where things went wrong, but it is the first kind of big black mark against the manager. And again, that's not me suggesting that he's not the right man or anything. The same way a player can have a bad game, a manager can have a bad night, and Danny Röhl's had a bad night. So I'm hoping that he and the rest of that squad dust himself off and try and recover this weekend.
Yeah, that's exactly all they can do. Look, there's quite a few good comments coming in already just about people's thoughts and opinions on what happened last night. SGL Time says, I think he looked far too ahead to Hearts. Pro players should be able to play 2 games a week, and very hard to disagree with that. Luke Gibson says, it's nuts that we can't lay a glove on Stephen O'Donnell and Paul McGinn, and we spent 40 million. Tell me about it. That's all I've had today off of Motherwell supporters at my work. So an A-League prospects here, how you doing? Makes a really good point, is playing a striker who can't score against a team who hadn't conceded at home in the league since October was disgraceful. It is square pegs and round holes a wee bit, that. But listen, I just want to get on to sort of split up where people's sort of biggest frustrations have been with the game last night. You summed it up pretty nicely there, Ross, but I want to split it up into the starting 11, and then the next bit, the substitutions, and then the sort, as you said, the shape formation. But yesterday, Rangers lined up that game with Butland in goal, Magoma at left back, Djiga, Suter, Tav at right back, Chukwani and Raskin, and Diomande as the central 3, or the midfield 3, I should say. And Moore out left, Gassama out right, and Chermiti up top. Ross, you and I debated this. We put both of our lineups on the Let's Talk Rangers X page last night because we just could not agree on a lineup to go with. I can certainly speak, I think, for most Rangers fans and say for the second league game in a row, we were all a bit scunnered by the initial lineup. What was your thoughts on it, and do you think that perhaps Rohl had, I was going to say one eye, it looks like he might have had 2 eyes in the Hearts game with that lineup?
He definitely did. And that, I think that's one of the really things that have annoyed me today coming out from that game, after a lot of Danny Röhl's comments where he's talking about that he's looked at the Motherwell and Hearts game as a kind of 2 games together. That's what he kept saying. These are 2 games together. I need to manage the squad. But that's a very different message to what we've heard from Danny Röhl the last few months, where he keeps reiterating it's game by game. We just look at the next game. We're not bothered about the one after it. So I'm a little bit frustrated by that, because for me, I don't think Rangers are good enough to be looking ahead to the next game. I think that Hearts game at the weekend will take care of itself. Deal with Motherwell first. Play what you believe is the best side. Now, let's just say as it is. Danny Röhl has picked that side last night because he thinks it's the best side to win the game. There might be a little bit of rotation in there. There might be protecting some players, but the manager will believe that is his best chance to win the game. If he didn't believe that, he would have brought the other players in. So I don't doubt his reasonings behind it. I think for me, you're bringing in definitely the forward line's a frustration, because the midfield three is something I predicted. I thought it would go with Chukwueze, Raskan and Diamande. I just thought for this game, the way that Motherwell play, how dominant they are with the ball, you're going to want an extra body in midfield to try and deal with that. Actually, okay, we looked pretty good in the first 10 minutes until we got the goal. And then maybe the open 15 minutes of the second half looked okay and we seemed to deal with Motherwell. But other than that, they played right through us. Now, I don't think individually any of them had a particularly bad game. I just don't think our midfield was really able to deal with it. So that wasn't a surprise with the selection. The forward line is definitely where everyone seems to be questioning the logic. So Djeidi Gassama on this right-hand side does not work. It doesn't work. And it's funny that the A-League Prospects is here, because I know that he's been in a debate on Twitter with several people today about it.
Hounding us.
Hounding us, definitely hounding us. And look, the way I view it is that we definitely as a team aren't helping Djeidi Gassama, because I think he's a much better player on the left-hand side. But at the same time, Djeidi Gassama has to take responsibility for his own performances. And regardless of whether he's on the left or the right, he's not doing enough. And actually, I was really, really annoyed with Djeidi Gassama and his reaction to coming off last night. And I'm fine with any player being angry about leaving the park because they think they can make a difference. Actually, I quite like that part of it. But see, once you've been hooked and you're coming off, just get off the park, run off the park. There's an opportunity for one of your teammates to come on and make a difference. That's what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, you're playing as a team, you're playing as a unit, you're playing for Rangers. The manager's made a decision, get off the park. I'm not interested in I can't believe it's me and why is it me? It's you because you've not done anything. So get off, right? So that really frustrated me last night. That idea that we've signed Andreas Skov Olsen, invested so much money in him, and he doesn't play a single minute last night, that is a strange one for me. And I'm not having the argument about bedding him in and giving him time. This is an experienced international footballer. If we don't believe that Skov Olsen can make a difference away at Fir Park, he shouldn't have been signed. Simple as that. I mean, that is nonsense. I'm not having that one bit. That's someone that could have made a difference, especially when Gassama was struggling so much last night. And when the ball turns over, I would back Skov Olsen. It probably is one of those players that could actually do something with it. Chermiti will maybe come on to it specifically in that chance, in the context of the game. But he's not doing enough. I'm not really understanding this blind spot that Danny Röhl has for Youssef Chermiti at the moment, that when he's available, he plays. Now, Youssef Chermiti is completely living off those 2 goals at Parkhead. And if he hadn't got those 2 goals at Parkhead, I cannot even imagine the reaction he would be getting with a lot of the support right now. Now, I actually think we're coming towards the end of that now. I think that pressure will start to ramp up again. But that is a player that I don't think should be starting games for Rangers at the moment. I think Ryan Djeidi is a player that's came in. He's made a really good impression early, and I think he's someone that should have played last night. I know the manager's coming out and he's saying he had a little bit of a feeling in training. We didn't want to take a risk. But you did play him for 25 minutes, So if he was injured, would you even take the risk bringing him on at all? I'm not sure. So without going through every individual on that team sheet, Kyle, I totally agree. It was underwhelming. I think you and I both said the same thing to each other. That's not a lineup that certainly gives you a lot of optimism for the game. And sometimes you just have to let it go and go, look, he's picked his side. We've got to put trust in him. We've got to put faith in the selection. We've got to just see how it plays out. Unfortunately, I think a lot of the support were right last night. That wasn't the side that we're going to get a result at Fir Park. Like, we needed more in there. We needed a little bit more energy in there. Just a little bit of freshness as well, because we've seen Mikey Moore, Djeidi Gassama, Youssef Chermiti in the front 3. It doesn't work. It really works. So what I'm hoping now is that Danny Röhl's maybe learned from this. That's the big thing for me. And I'm hoping going forward, he takes more of a risk in his selection, because I think throughout his time, he doesn't take a lot of risks with selection. I'm wanting to see that now, because we've brought these guys in to make a difference. Use them and not to repeat myself too much. And I'd be really keen to get your thoughts on this. I just can't understand why Skov Olsen doesn't kick a ball last night. I don't get it. I don't understand. For me, that's the kind of sub you make when Motherwell go down to 10. The attitude should be they're desperately pushing men forward. They've also lost a man, so let's bring someone on that when the ball turns over can make the difference, can find us that second goal. Instead, we went, we'll bring on our centre back with Fernandes, we'll stick with the back three, we'll sit deep and we'll absorb pressure, and that's what happens. So, yeah, I'm maybe jumping around here with other things that we're going to get onto naturally because I'm a little bit frustrated. But yeah, the selection itself, I think most Rangers supporters last night would have told you that they didn't think that was the right approach.
Yeah, a couple of comments coming in here. Luke Gibson says, I'd have a half-fit Finlay Curtis over Gassama. At least he would smile and put a shift in. And A-League Prospect says, here's the excuses I was talking about. He's useless on both sides. I know Gassama's come in for a bit of criticism, but I think we will talk about him later on. There are some other comments I'll definitely bring up later on about Gassama, but I'm just, for me, that lineup, surely you're better to go out and get a couple of goals and then sit back. That the team that started the game is kind of the team that I expected to almost finish it, if you know what I mean. I thought, we'd see Magoma coming on towards the end and maybe some of the centre halves. I was surprised that Fernandes didn't start, given what Rohl was saying during the week, but that must have been a sports science thing. But the biggest thing for me is he's obviously just had too much of an eye on the Hearts game and thought he could rest players for it, which stuns me, given that every single one of the players and every week the managers come out and said it's one game at a time. We took our eye off the ball yesterday and absolutely suffered for it. But look,
what game? Can I ask you quickly before we move on? What game were you more confident about this week? Were you more confident of Rangers getting a result away at Fir Park, or more confident beating Hearts at home?
Well, honestly, as a Rangers supporter, you should always be confident that Rangers are going to go and win both of those games. But on paper, given that how good Motherwell have been at home, the type of football they play, and the intensity level that they play that football at, you're probably going to say the Motherwell game. But then again, equally at the same time, Hearts are the league leaders, are there for a reason. I'm more confident about winning the game on Sunday than I was about Rangers winning yesterday. I take it you feel the same about that? Yeah,
and that's why. And look, Danny Röhl might have a different opinion. Look, he might just look at it and say Hearts are top of the league for a reason, Motherwell are fourth. This is a game that I feel I can rotate a little bit more. But for me, I think if you look at the form of the two sides, the way that Motherwell are playing their football this season, the way that Hearts have been playing lately, they haven't been at top performance. They have been grinding through certain games. And again, so have Rangers and Celtic. So it's not a criticism. They just haven't been playing to the level it maybe earlier on this season. For me, the more difficult game this week was going away to Fir Park, because I think the game at Ibrox takes care of itself. I think the support are really going to show up on Sunday. They'll do all they can to make a difference. I'm hoping it's a hostile atmosphere, and I think Rangers will be really motivated for that game. And I would back Rangers against any SPFL side, at home to win that game. So for me, the tougher test was Motherwell. And to be honest, fans are allowed to look at it this way. I just don't think the coaching staff and the manager should be looking that way. For me, it's just one game at a time. Like, there was comments earlier on the week from Danny Röhl about, this is an opportunity for us to go top of the league, right? Let's just win the game first, right? Let's get through Motherwell first, and then we'll talk about the chance of going top of the league. Like, you've not got 3 points at Fir Park. Let's just forget about it. Let's, as you've said all season, game at a time. Let's go every single game at a time, because that's naturally what's going to help you lift the title. There's no point in planning for the next game. So I'm glad you picked up on it. You can probably hear my frustration as well. For me, that's just not the way to go about it. And I hope going forward, because there is only a game every single week now when it comes to the league, it's just each game as it comes. Don't plan for the next one. Play what you believe is the best side. Play your best players every single game and go from there. Like, don't... This long-term planning, it's not going to... We're not a good enough team to be doing that. We've not shown enough this season to be doing that. So, yeah.
It's so frustrating, because last night was an opportunity to put down a mark, give us a bit of a buffer between us and Hearts, because Hearts have had that breathing space for most of the season, and there's an opportunity to do it, and just in the most Rangers way possible, they'll go and absolutely blow it. But listen, the substitutions is the next aspect to, or the criticisms that were faced at Rohl last night. Firstly, the first sub came around 60 minutes, and that was Diomande off for Nadiri. I think a lot of people maybe predicted that Diomande was coming off, given that he got a pretty ridiculous yellow card so early on in that game. 72 minutes, Gassama came off, put Fernandes on, and then in 86 minutes, and in my notes here, I've big, huge 3 effing minutes before Motherwell score. He's taken Moore, Tav, and Chermiti off, and then he's put Asgard, Miovski, and Sterling. I'm sorry, but Asgard and Miovski are not the type of players that I want to see coming on when Rangers are basically trying to shut out a game. For mentality-wise, I don't think they have that grit at times just to go in there. But yeah, what did you make of some of those substitutions? Were you surprised it took Danny Röhl as long as it did to make those substitutions, given how proactive? It's one thing I've loved about him as a manager so far at Rangers, is that see if he's not happy with something, he will change it. But what he last night suggested to me is that pretty much up into 60 minutes, he was okay with that.
I thought the substitutions, pretty much all of them last night, were baffling, to be honest. I think once Nadiri had came on, I think the idea from Danny Röhl was to kind of go to a 4-4-2 off the ball. So I think what he wanted was Nadiri to be someone that could maybe drop in and help out, or Chermiti, one or the other. They could then rotate. And I think the idea was to try and force Motherwell wide. So put a few more bodies in the middle, put Nadiri in the middle, Chermiti, a bit more physicality, Chukwueze and Raskan behind them, and push Gassama and Moore on the outsides and just try and force Motherwell down the outside, because I think they were playing through the middle a lot in that second half. So, okay, maybe I understand that one. For me, I thought the 3 in midfield would have helped us a little bit more. Now, I understand why Mohamed Diomande comes off. He's on a booking, and actually I thought a few times he was getting close to not potentially being sent off, but he was just in and around tackles, and I thought you're maybe taking a bit of a risk here. So, okay, I understand that one. Fernandes coming on, which is before the red card, I believe, and he goes to a back 3. Okay, can understand that a little bit. He's maybe getting into the last 15 minutes. Sorry, am I wrong there?
No, what I was going to see the Fernandes substitution. Do you not think that reeks of a sports science substitution where he's just put him on the pitch so that he's got, whatever it was, 20 minutes in his leg before the Hearts game at the weekend? Like, it's another sub that I think Rohl's going, here, I'm putting you on so you've got minutes in your legs for the Hearts game.
Potentially, and that's just not the time for it, is it? Like, for me, I would just rather you start him, because I think Manny Fernandes has been our best centre-back this season, or you make a substitution based on the game state. I'm not really one for, this player needs to get a certain number of minutes today for the next game. Again, that's, for me, it should have been what's the substitution that's going to get us the result here. So yeah, there's potentially a little bit in that. He obviously brings Fernandes on and we go to a 3. Motherwell get the red card, which, by the way, it's one of those ones where I don't even understand why VAR have to get involved in that. That is, I could see it from my living room. That was a red card straight away. It was obvious. He's absolutely, I don't really understand that, but we won't get into the referees too much. But yeah, he goes to a 3. Fadinger's sent off. And I think the main frustration for me in that is, once Motherwell go down to 10, I would expect a shape change. And I think this is where the kind of mentality part of this comes in, and what I always go back to. So statistically, the best time to score a goal, or the best time to attack and create chances is when you're in the lead, right? That is just what the data says, sorry. Like, if you're winning a football game, you're actually better to be more expansive and attack more, because the side you're up against are likely going to be doing the same. Therefore, there's more space to exploit, right? So just in the data itself, that would be, for me, why we were a little bit more expansive and attacking in that second half. Then once they go down to 10, for me, it is that mentality thing. And I think we've seen a little bit of this at Kilmarnock last week, where Rangers get the goal, come out down to 10 men, and Rangers they seem to take their foot off the gas, and it's like, right, we're comfortable in the game now, we can kind of coast things. I think you've seen a little bit of that last night. Like, I think Motherwell go down to 10, and I think psychologically this Rangers team think, oh, that's probably enough now. You know, they're down to 10, there's only 10 minutes to go. We'll probably be able to just see this out. And maybe there's a little bit of that comes to the sideline. But for me, I think at that moment, you change it. You don't go to a back three. You probably bring Djiga off when Sterling comes on, something like that, right? You maybe move Sterling into midfield. You play it as a 3, and I think you try and get an extra body in midfield. And I think you squeeze the game. That's the way I would approach it. You squeeze the game. You press high up the park. You try and get Motherwell on the back line, because you know if they're going to break, they've got one less man. They're not going to be able to break as effectively. For me, that's a mentality shift that we need to have. I don't think if Motherwell go down to 10 men, that Rangers should be playing with 3 at the back and sitting as deep as they were and inviting pressure. I just don't think that's the way to approach that. And I think that's why we're punished. I think we're punished because of the changes that the manager made and didn't do enough to build Rangers back into the game and put Motherwell under pressure.
But do you think that just keeping that 5 at the back, just even from a mentality point of view, if you're a Motherwell player, you're looking at that going, oh, they're sitting back here. They're encouraging us to come on. Do you think would have had that same effect in terms of not changing the shape?
Absolutely, I do. I can see it. I can understand it when it's 11v11 and Motherwell are absolutely peppering our goal, and it's like, look, they're shelling balls into the box constantly. We're going to have to put an extra man. That's not really how I felt the game was going. I think Motherwell had a lot of possession and they were getting into dangerous areas, but there weren't lots and lots of chances. And I think when they go down to 10 men, for me, that's the time that Rangers should shift it and go, okay, now we can start to be a wee bit more aggressive in the press, because they've got one man less, so they're going to struggle to break out. And see if they do break, we are going to have extra cover behind the ball. So it's going to be really difficult for them. You are giving them an opportunity to get back in the game by sitting so deep and inviting pressure. And I think you're totally right. I think psychologically for Motherwell last night, they went, look, they're trying to see this out. Like, they've got no intention of breaking here. They're just, the substitutions they are making is with the intent to see the game out. So let's just pile everything forward. Like, see if we lose by 2 goals or 3 goals now. Who cares? We've already lost the game. And actually, that's the type of mentality I want us to have. You know, that, like, for me, 1 goal shouldn't be enough. It should be, they're down to 10, they're vulnerable. Let's go and kill the game. But for us, it's, oh no, we'll just see it out. You know, we'll sit back, we'll invite pressure. And to be honest with you, I think that's why we're punished. I think that's where it comes from. There's no reason why Rangers should have been sitting as deep as they were last night in that last 10 minutes. And look, Motherwell probably deserved a goal at some point, but the manner that we lost it in is probably the most frustrating part for me.
Yeah, that's it. It's just, is in the famous words of Radiohead, you do it to yourself, don't you? That's exactly what it is with Rangers. A couple of comments here. Coolhand Tech says, the team that wins the league this season will be the worst team to win it. If Rohl can't win it this season, he'll never win it. The Motherwell manager has a higher ceiling than Rohl. That's an interesting opinion. Look, Gibson, on the discussion around mentality, we don't have a killer mentality. We don't have players that smell blood. And honestly, the last couple of games have encouraged me a wee bit to think that, oh, maybe they are going to go out here and, you know, put the foot in the throat when you do sniff a wee bit of blood. But I think it sounds terrible, but it's perhaps exactly why the fans were booing at halftime at Kilmarnock, because, you know, they just did not want us to slip into this mentality. And James McLean here says, we are not going to be handed the league. We have to go and win it. That has to be the mentality, which I think is fair enough. A couple of comments here as well, which sort of came in, and I thought this was really interesting. So I'm gonna ask you this. They were both kind of aimed at Gassama, but Luke Gibson firstly says Gassama's body language is shocking. He couldn't care less. And Scott JL96 also said something. He said Gassama's attitude was stinking. Do you think that Rangers were very passive last night? Was there a bit, not mentality issue, but just like they just didn't seem to be able to cope with the sort of the level of intensity and pressure that Motherwell were putting us under at times? Is that just down to all the stuff that we discussed before, or is that just down to Motherwell being a very, very good footballing team that have got clear ideas, a clear message from their manager, or do you think that there was, because that was the thing for me. I know we won that Kilmarnock game 5-0, but I was very worried at the reaction of the players when they scored that first goal. They just thought, the game's won. And I'm not saying there was a bit of that last night, but I don't know if that was the chat was score and contain, or do you think there was a bit of a lack of mentality? And I'm looking at you, Chermiti, here, possibly in terms of that, because we're going to have to talk about it in terms of that shot. That for me is nothing more than, it's such a good chance. That's just a player that's low in confidence, or maybe not even low in confidence, just not confident enough to make the right decision. That to me was a player that just was going in his head, just get us in target, just get us in target, just get us in target, just get us in target. And he's just
terrified of missing.
Yeah,
terrified.
And he's done that. And that's all it was. Do you think that's something that we can change, or how do we just not play Chermiti and just go in the Djeidi now?
Well, that would be my choice. I would be playing Ryan the Djeidi for the start every week based on what I've seen so far. I think if I start with the Chermiti chance, that is a player that I think you're right is so low on confidence that in that moment where he's through 1-on-1, for him it's not that he's not got the composure of a top class striker, not even a top class striker, like just a real goal scoring striker there. Takes their time, they pick their spot and they put it in one of the corners. Like, I mean, the goalkeeper's rushed out, the angle's there. He just needs to put it either side of Ward and it's a goal. And you're totally right to bring this up. For him, it's just get my head over it and get it on target. I mean, I'm there's so many chances I can think of now with Chermiti where he's been in that position where he hits it straight at the goalkeeper so many times. It's actually quite impressive. Like, accuracy-wise, he always seems to find the goalkeeper. If he could find a corner, if you just, in fact, go get the goalkeeper stand in the corner and he'd be unbelievable. Like, he always seems to find the goalkeeper right down the middle. And yeah, I think that chance, look, it would have been against the run of play, let's be honest. But that chance there changes the whole trajectory of the game. Like, if you go 2-0 ahead, that gives Rangers a real cushion. Now, they might have still fallen into that state that we seen last night where they take their foot off the gas, they try and coast it through, they see out the game. But you do have a 2-goal advantage, and it's a little bit more comfortable. And actually, what we've seen at times with this Rangers team is once they do get a couple of goals ahead, you start to see a little bit more confidence. You start to see them puff their chest out, lift their shoulders. That's maybe what they needed last night. And it probably wouldn't have shocked me if they did get that second goal, they would go and win by 3 or 4. It wouldn't have surprised me because that's the type of team we have at the moment. So yeah, that Chermiti chance is huge. I go back to that 13 million bid in January, the supposed 13 million bid. If that was true, we should have took it. I sat in this podcast instead of the time. Not going to change my mind. He should have been gone. He scored 4 goals domestically. Come on. He's played 30 games. What was happening here? So you can talk about that he does lots of good work off the ball and he presses well and he links up and he makes intelligent runs. Okay, there's a little bit of that, but is he doing enough? Absolutely not. In terms of the passive mentality of the team, I think you did reference it rightly. I think you're right too. I do think Motherwell are a really good side and I think they deserve a lot of credit because I think in football sometimes as a fan you just look at your own side and you go, we are rubbish, and you maybe don't put a lot of emphasis on the opposition. I think Motherwell deserve a lot of credit for the way that they approach these games. They've got no fear. They don't care that they're playing Rangers, Celtic, Hearts, Hibs. They're no bothered. They're just going to go for it regardless. So I think they deserve a lot of credit. I think sometimes it is easy as a support to say, that player isn't trying or this player isn't trying. I don't really believe that. I do think the players will be given it their all. I do agree with a lot of the frustration in terms of the comments there about Djeidi Gassama. I do think his attitude sometimes, he doesn't come across well. I'm sure he's a great boy. I'm sure he wants to give us all for Rangers, but like I referenced earlier in the podcast, I was even frustrated with him last night when it's that kind of petulance on the park and how dare you take me off. It's like, Djeidi, you're not that good. You know, you've struggled the whole game again. Like, get off the park and give someone else an opportunity. So I can certainly understand why people have a lot of frustration with him. I'm the same, and it's the same with Youssef Chermiti. I just, the support, I think, are very close to giving up on him again. And I think that's probably the case with Djeidi Gassama now. I think he needs to be someone that comes out, and I don't want to see him on the right ever again because it doesn't work. You know, Danny Röhl might think, oh, he can do a job for me. I'm not interested. You know, we've got Andreas Skov Olsen now, who we have signed for that position. Just play him, right? You're going to... Actually, I'll ask you this, Kellen, what you think, because it seems like Danny Röhl is really keen to get Djeidi Gassama and Mikey Moore in this team at the same time. Seems really keen on that. For me, it's one or the other. I don't think a Mikey Moore and a Djeidi Gassama and this Rangers team works. I think they both want to play on that left side and they both want to occupy the same spaces. I think going forward, it's one or the, you pick one and the other one sits on the bench that week. I don't think we're at that point now, especially with the other options we've got. I think you just have to go with one and give them a chance. And if they don't perform, you bring the other one in. I'm done with this. Mikey Moore plays on the right sometimes. Djeidi Gassama plays on the right sometimes. I know that Gassama's not been good, but it's not going to help him, right? So just bring him out. You're a left winger. You're not playing well enough. You're not playing at the moment. You'll get a chance eventually.
It's a very modern manager football thing, that, isn't it? They see wingers as wingers, is that they're almost interchangeable on each side, and it doesn't actually matter which side they're playing with. For me, Gassama out on the right and is not his best position. Moore out on the right, for me, that's also not his best position. So like we've got Skov Olsen there. He's been brought in to do this. I don't know. You said Danish international. No, he's not got an awful lot of football this season, but how's he going to get that if we don't play him? I think actually Djeidi Gassama has been so much better as a, and again I'm going to go back to a modern football phrase here, as a finisher rather than a starter for the game.
I knew that was coming.
I
knew that. The old phrase was an impact sub. Now it's a finisher. It's funny how all the terminology changes with football. Done it all the time. It's a finisher now, right? Yeah.
But he's the perfect player to bring on. I mean, you go through it. The ultimate sub one, it was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I mean, I'm not going to say that Djeidi Gassama is going to have the same impact as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer coming off the bench, but you see when teams that they've been playing a Rangers for 60 minutes, you are a bit tired. I just think he's the ideal guy to come on, bring on, build up his confidence a wee bit. But yeah, it's if you're going to start him, he's totally wasted out on that right hand side. He's just, and you can see like he gets frustrated with him. I mean, as you said, he's again, that's the thing I think we forget a lot about these Rangers players. He's what is he, 21 still, Djeidi Gassama, I'm sure. I don't even think he's
either 21 or 22. Yeah, he's young.
Still young guy. You can see how frustrated he gets when it just doesn't come off for him. I agree with you. I think he does need a wee bit of time out the team. I think it's fortuitous, especially that the Ant-Man's coming back into a bit of form. I know you wouldn't want to hear that, but you know, he's looked okay in the games that we've seen him fit under Rohl, especially again, was it on that left hand side? Ironically, we've got about 16 left wingers at this point. But yeah, going forward, I wouldn't. In fact, before we jump onto the Hearts game, what I want to say, I want to read out the Rohl's comment on it, and you know, him saying he would take a 1-1 draw, because there was a wee bit of comments around that. So I'm just going to read the whole thing out because I do like putting it in context. He said, "I like to see out a 1-0 because it was strong football, but finally it's about 3 points. With the draw, we cannot close it. And I think, if I'm honest, before the game, if you give me a draw, I would say, yeah, maybe it is what it is. But if you concede so late, then this equaliser, I'm really disappointed. And that's it today. But we move forward with my group, heads up, and it's a big game on Sunday." What did you think about that comment?
I think it's one of those ones where you could just imagine the media officer at Rangers being like, Danny, no. It's just, I think it's one of those comments that you don't say publicly. Like, you might believe it privately that actually looking at this, if I looked at this before the game, you're playing a good Motherwell side, a point would have been a good result. And I'm not going to sit here and say, how dare he say that or how dare he think that? Because I said earlier in this podcast that I thought it would be a draw. And I didn't think that a draw, the result, would be catastrophic for the title race. And I still don't believe that. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, we drew that game last night, it's all over. You know, I said in these 2 games, if you get 4 points, I think that would be great, because the potential is you would be then 2 points behind Hearts. I think that gives you a great chance. So I don't disagree with what Danny Röhl is saying there in terms of his overall outlook, but I do think it's just one of those things that you just don't say. You don't. Did he have to say that last night? I'm not sure he did. Like, I don't think he had to come out and tell everyone that, actually, do you know what? Everyone needs to be level-headed here and calm down, because I would have taken a draw before the game. And of course, that's us paraphrasing. Of course it is. But that's really what he was trying to get across. So it's just one of those moments, again, that he'll probably learn from this. He'll probably think, next time, that's not going to get the response that I maybe want to get, and I'm just going to leave it, and I'm just going to come out and vent my frustration. I don't think we should take too much from it. I've seen lots on social media today saying, oh, never a Rangers manager, look at this, Rangers manager going in a game like this, that's the mentality. I'm sure Danny Röhl wanted to win that game as much as anyone else. He sets the team up in a way that he believes is going to win the game. I don't doubt that for 1 minute. I don't think he went to Fir Park last night to get a draw. I don't think that. I think he's just being realistic in terms of where these teams are at the moment. And the way that Motherwell have been playing, the way we've been playing, a draw isn't an unexpected result. I think a lot of people in Scottish football would have predicted that last night, and that's what happened. So, yeah, another kind of, I'm hoping a learning moment for Danny Röhl. He is, relatively young in his managerial career. This is something he's maybe not had this level of scrutiny at Sheffield Wednesday. He's going to get it here. Like, if you don't pick up 3 points at Rangers, everyone's going to listen to those press conferences and interviews, and they're going to be waiting for you to say something. And he's given a lot of people that last night. So, yeah, he'll learn from it. I'm sure the media team and the PR team at Ibrox will be sitting him down today and be like, don't do that again. Just leave that. That's not worth it. So, yeah, not the worst thing ever for me. I think there's been a slight overreaction of that on social media today.
What are you telling me, that some journalists have an agenda with him asking him, is Sunday a must-win game, about 45 million times in that post-match press conference? But listen, a couple of comments in here. Luke Gibson says, well, he didn't set his team up to win. And Cool Hand Tech says, his comments is from a manager mid-table playing to stay out the relegation, behind playing for a title. 3 points is needed, which, yeah, I agree with you. I can almost understand where he was coming from with your Rangers manager's hat on, but from a fan's perspective, it's just something you don't ever want to hear a Rangers manager saying. It's every game we should all be about 3 points. But listen,
see, just before we move on, Kayla, I just wanted, because again, this has been a really negative podcast, and I'm not surprised by that. Just wanted to pick out a couple of things last night. I thought the goal from Rangers was fantastic. I thought the turn from Maha Diamande, the drive forward, the pass through, brilliant goal. And I think that's what we've all felt from Mohamed Diamande. The player is there. I thought Tochi Chukwueze again, I thought he played well. And I think he's probably going to be a mainstay in that midfield now. I don't really see him coming out. I think it's going to be Raskan or Diamande that come out, because I think he's just settled in there really well. And actually, someone I wanted to give a lot of credit, because I think he's had it really tough here. I thought Nasser Djiga was really good again. Like, that one in the first half, or Maswinissi's through and he gets back, like, that is a really big interception. And actually, again, what I thought he was really good at last night, and what we've seen from Manny Fernandez, is stepping out and winning the ball. So that's something I wanted to highlight. And it's maybe, okay, I think John Souttar and Manny Fernandez is the best centre-back partnership we have, and that would be my choice for the rest of the season, mainly because the potential Manny Fernandez, John Souttar's that kind of experienced player. But I think Nasser Djiga deserves a lot of credit, because it's been a really tough, Rangers career for him. He has been under a lot of scrutiny, wasn't playing at all. He goes to AFCON, he doesn't kick a ball, he comes back and he's thrown in. And I know that night against Annan, we sat in Ibrox and thought, oh God, he looks terrible again. But actually, he's been kind of flung into it in the moment, and I think he's done really well. So I just, maybe it's not the time for it, but I personally, I don't think the result's catastrophic. I think we can still respond to it, and I just thought that was a good time to maybe pick out some of the positive aspects from last night. There wasn't a lot of them, but I think there's something there that we can pick out. So,
and there's your 1 minute of positivity that I allowed Ross on this podcast. But yeah,
everyone's like, get him off.
Listen, I think fair enough. The A-League Prospects here says Djiga was excellent. He pocketed the top goal scorer in the league. Baron Loyal says Rohl lacks experience. He must learn from these mistakes or he'll end up like Clement. I think that's a fair comment. Luke Gibson says Djiga was brilliant at Motherwell on the opening game of the season too. And Cool Hand Tex, he's got a slightly different take on it. He says Djiga Fernandez is by a mile the better partnership. Cornelius Fernandez might be better when fit. Yeah, it's interesting, but as long as Djiga doesn't wear those tights again, I'm totally fine with that. But listen, in terms of Hearts, the next game, Rangers take on another huge game, as if we didn't put enough pressure on ourselves already. We're playing the league leaders at Ibrox on Sunday in the 4:30 kick. I can't ever remember a 4:30 kickoff on a Sunday. But anyway, we'll be there. We'll be freezing, I'm sure. Hopefully, if the weather warnings and the snow's not too bad. But Ross, I'm just gonna, ask a very, very simple question for you. What must change immediately from last night into Sunday?
Everything. No, I'm joking. I think
Bring Clement back.
Skov. Oh, whoa! I didn't think we would ever go there.
I'm just trying to trigger you before the end of the podcast. I want one.
You'll be watching these live again.
I want those. I want those authentic voice notes to come through here as well. That's what I want.
I seen someone in the chat earlier saying leak the voice notes. Like we can't because we'll get banned. So
yeah.
there was that much in it. What do we need to change? I actually expect quite a lot of changes at the weekend, and I think that comes from that that kind of idea from Danny Röhl talking about these two games together. So I think he's looked at that, and I think that's maybe why you didn't see a Skov Olsen, Rommens, Ant-Man come off the bench last night. I disagree with that approach, but that would make me think that you're going to see a really different lineup against Hearts at the weekend. I would actually be quite tempted to stay with that 3 in midfield because I think it is going to be a bit of a battle with Hearts as well. And I do think Raskan and Diamandi playing as those kind of number 8s that give them a little bit more freedom. Maybe don't have that creativity, but certainly give you the legs. They've got running power. They can carry the ball forward. I actually really like it. It's going to be interesting to see who he picks in wide areas. For me, it's Skov Olsen, and actually I think there's a really good chance it could be Ant-Man on that left-hand side, but I wouldn't be devastated if it was him or Moore. I think this is the time to bring Gassama out now. I think he's struggling. Up front for me is Ryan the Dairy because I think he brings something a little bit different. But yeah, I think without going through the team as a whole, I do think there will be quite significant changes to the side. I'm hoping that we do maybe seize the moment here, play a little bit more expansive, take the game to Hearts because, let's be honest, Hearts haven't been in the best form lately. And I watched that Edinburgh derby the other night. Horrendous game of football, never getting that 90 minutes back. But Hibs were the better team in that game for large spells.
Yeah.
And I think most of the games I've watched with Hearts lately, they haven't been at top form. Now, by the way, that's expected. They're missing their 2 best players in Shankland and Devlin. And I think that's the thing we have to remember. They are coming to Ibrox without their captain and their vice-captain. I know Craig Halgott's potentially their vice-captain as well, but I think there's a really good opportunity here for Rangers to get 3 points and go within 2 points of Hearts. And I think psychologically that's massive. There's a big thing for me as well as I seen Ewan Cameron replying to us last night and really enjoying it, and I'd really love us to get 3 points quickly after that because he was enjoying that moment last night, and I'll be straight on to him if we do get those 3 points. But yeah, I think a mentality shift. I'm hoping they seize the moment, big opportunity for them. And look, the mood and the support will change dramatically if Rangers go and get 3 points this weekend. And for me as a player, that's the way I'm looking at this. Like you can change things really quickly in football. You know, you go and get a win against Hearts, you put yourself within 2 points, and you're down to the last 11 games to go after that. There's plenty of time to stretch ahead. So yeah, I'm expecting a big response at the weekend. I'm actually really looking forward to going to Ibrox because I think the I think the fans and the support showing up to Ibrox on Sunday will realise how big a moment this is. And I think I can really feel it being one of those kind of European type environments, which I'm really looking forward to, because I think it helps the players so much. So I'm really hoping the players thrive on that. Rangers go get 3 points. And I really hope that Danny Röhl learns from that the other night, that, someone said it in the comments earlier, you have to go win a league title. You've got to go win it. Like, it's not going to come to you, this conservative football. It's not. We need to start to open up now. The players are there. He's been backed. It's time to go. The quality's there. Let's go and get 3 points at the weekend, and let's put ourselves right back in the mix for this title race. There's a long way to go. Let's give us a really, really good chance to go and lift this title at the end of the season.
Well, that's it exactly. We've got to go up. We've got to be up for this game. We've got to come out the traps flying. Do you remember there was a game you and I went to, and it was, I'm sure, was it the Mohamed Diomande scored in it? I'm sure Oscar Cortez scored it in it as well. When Rangers came out the traps, absolutely flying. I think we beat Hearts 5-0 that day. And
tell everyone my prediction that day, Kyle. Come on, you can't forget that bit. Come on. Everyone was nervous that day. You were thinking, it might be a draw. And I'm like, I reckon we'll batter them. I'm
pretty sure you said 2-0 Hearts at the time, mate. I don't remember that. No, to be fair, you did. You were very confident about that game. I'm not so confident about this Hearts game coming up that we'll come out and batter them. But yeah. I certainly think we've, as you said there, we have got to go with our strongest 11 on the pitch on Sunday. It'll be. I hope Fernandez is back fully fit. That'll be an interesting one, as you said, given that Djiga's played pretty well. Tuur Rommens has to start. It's nothing against Jayden Magoma. I think he's been brilliant, but again last night just highlighted he switched off for 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds, 10 seconds during that goal. Had his back turned when the ball was coming in. I just want somebody else in there, and I just want an unknown quantity to come up against Hearts. If Nadiri's fit, he's got to start as well. But the thing which I'll end the podcast on here, and I think you sort of alluded to it, last night there was so much emotion yesterday, but the title race it's not done. The question that I would urge all Rangers fans to ask themselves is, do you think that Hearts are going to win every game between now and the end of the season? I don't think they will. Do you think Celtic will go out and win every game between now and the end of the season? I also don't think they will. We play both of those teams 4 times as of speaking just now. It's still in our own hands. But listen, as always, I've just got to say a big thank you to every single person who joined in and was tuning in, whether that's you watching on YouTube or listening to audio interaction, debates, and even some of the disagreements that we've got on here is what we love the most. If you want to support what we're building here, the simplest way to hit subscribe, drop a like to the video, and make sure your notifications are switched on. Around 80% of you who are watching this haven't subscribed yet. And honestly, just giving us a wee click, it just makes such a massive difference to the channel. Get your thoughts and all the comments on everything we've covered tonight, as there was a lot as always. Who would you play against Hearts? What did you think about Gassama's performance on Wednesday? And you can always find us on all good audio platforms as well, if that's your thing, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the usual stuff. But listen, we'll be back soon. We'll be back again on Monday. Hopefully it's a Rangers victory we can talk about then, and we've closed that gap on the league leaders. But thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all again next time.